Hello, testing, testing. I just want to send aloha and a happy Mother's Day to everyone that's out there. All right, looks like we're getting ready to get more fans in here. So I'm just going to wait a little while. I know I didn't do too much advertising for this, so some of you are like, whoa, he's going live? Yes, I'm going live. And I'm going to talk about this article that's right next to me, right here. Oh, sorry. Right there. See when everything is backwards. Forwards is backwards. But this article that recently came out was based on a talking about Dr. Mark Emmert. Well, let's start from the beginning. Dr. Emmert is the president of the NCAA. He is a former university president at the University of Washington. And Dr. Emmert is also somebody that carries a lot of weight, obviously, in the world of sports, being the president of the NCAA. And that is very important. So I'm going to start right there because you might have seen this article brought up. You might have seen some other articles that were reporting on this because this is a Twitter interview that Dr. Emmert had did. Um, but we are not there quite yet. I'm going to end live video real quick. End it, and I'll start all over again. We're going to wait. Aloha, 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 everyone that's out there. Sorry if you're on our last stream to cut that one short, but welcome to Hawaii Sports Fans. I'm Wayne Kwaito, the host here of the UH Football Fan Stream every Sunday, but I'm also the founder at Hawaii Sports Fans. And tonight I wanted to usually we'll have a panel, and I'm going to still have my Sunday sound off. So I'm posting in the comments, so make sure you look out for that. It's going to be the link that you can click on to participate in our Sunday sound off, whether you want to have a video feed or you want to just call in. So there'll be a number. So I'm going to post that in the comments and link that. But today what we're going to talk about is an article, or not necessarily the article. The article, ESPN put out an article, I think Yahoo as well, but you'll see on my screen next to me what was reported on was Dr. Emmert, who is the president of the NCAA, for those of you who don't know. And this is really his first substantial comments when it comes to this coming season and what we can expect. Because anything you've read, anything we've been reading recently, it's just been speculation. And even Dr. Emmert, I'm not going to say it's set in stone, but this is a person that you need to listen to. You want to hear what this guy has to say. And this is also a guy who definitely has a moneyed stake himself to get the season going. So he's not at all trying to avoid having football season. I mean, he's just trying to report the facts as best as he can, but also stay optimistic. So there's still a lot of optimism. But the reality is what he's saying is true. That is that it's really going to be impossible to find a date where we all can start together. And that means we, meaning the entire college football world. And that is just the truth. I don't know how else to say that. It's going to be really, really difficult. And for me, I would love to see obviously more substantial, more concrete, or more defined set of plans. But at this point, it's a wait and see. So Dr. Emmert said he's hoping by June some decisions will be made. Where he said in June, he said possibly July 4th, but we keep pushing this. I mean, we've said May. Even the NBA said we're going to make a decision by May. It's still hanging up there. I mean, the NBA is still the most powerful league, the most money. They don't even have as many players as the NFL or Major League Baseball, and yet they're still having problems getting off. And that will still take a little bit. And we're hoping for the NBA Finals this year. I'm hoping that we can finish the season in the NBA because it's a great year. Definitely, if you're a Lakers fan, you want the season to happen because this is one of the best chances for the Lakers to come back and win a championship. And certainly in the City of Angels with the Clippers here as well, everybody wants to see that playoff game, a true meaningful game between these two teams, rather than the regular season games that we've had this year, which were incredibly expensive. If you were able to go to it, good job, because those tickets are probably as much as the finals have been, and I'm not even exaggerating about that. That's how crazy that rivalry has been. But it would be a little disappointing, I think, if we weren't able to have any kind of conclusion to the season. So, that's something that I'm hoping for. But in the meantime, I want to really talk about our season, right? Hawaii football and what that means. But I would love people to call in if you have any thoughts as well. So I'm gonna leave that link in the. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have a dial in. Okay, and then when you dial in, you can call, and I will hear your voice. So let's see if this works though, because I put a password on it. Okay, well, I'm gonna wait for people to come in and let people in the comments join for a little while and talk. But this is a major deal, just with President Emmert offering any kind of words. The issue being that in the summer, there will be still many cases. I mean, right now there are many cases. There are people out there that are going back to restaurants. There's no scientist right now in America that will say that it is okay for any state in America to go back to restaurants. So I'll just leave that out there. But of course we all want to get back. Of course we all are excited. We're all antsy. We all want to get out. I, for one, travel basically every weekend throughout the year, nearly every weekend to a game. I'm flying across the country. I'm going somewhere. I'm doing exactly what I want to do, especially during football season. I'm doing something that is exactly what I want to do. So that's all I think about is football season and non-football season. So when I say something like it's doubtful that we'll be able to start on time, I wish I didn't have to say that, but it's true. So, but I would love to see, in my personal opinion, I would love to see the NCAA come out and say something like, we're going to push it to the spring, just because it'll give us a little bit of a window. We'll be better by then. But the issue is we can't even see into spring, and that should say something when we're trying to start something in fall. If we're having problems projecting into the spring still, it's going to make it really difficult in the fall. And if you guys want to talk about it or chat about it, I know the Oregon game is going to be really disappointing. It's something that I had looked forward to for a very long time, and had a trip planned as well, and had a couple NFL games that we would be going to as well, which I would still love to do if the time comes and it works out. But even in the NFL, we don't even know if the games will start on time. All we know is that the schedule is out and there are defined dates as to when the NFL wants to start, but it doesn't mean that the games will actually happen that day. And in the NFL's case, yes, they might go forward without fans, and I don't think that they'd want to. I think the NFL would prefer to keep pushing it back as much as possible, because they're taking money. They're not taking money. Everyone's still taking money. That's another thing too. It's very few leagues that are refunding money or right now. Even the NBA. The NBA still has some of my money tied up in a regular season game that wasn't played. That will probably not be. I mean, okay, we keep saying probably. Let's say like 99.9% chance isn't going to be played, because if the NBA gets back, they're going to need to almost go directly into the playoffs, if not directly in playoffs, if not directly into the semifinals. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to have to do a lot of rushing to be able to make it happen. So that being said, when we're talking about college football, we're talking about a totally different set of variables, because the NCAA, the way they are, and for me, Wayne Cueto, who used to be on the NCAA committee, who spent 4 years in that building in Indianapolis, sitting in meetings a lot with Mark Emmert himself, knowing how these people think, knowing what they want, which is to satisfy university presidents, satisfy athletic directors, make money. At the end of the day, make money, of course. But student athletes, that term alone, student athlete, has a long way to go, way past just the term athlete, and definitely has nothing to do with being a professional athlete, which is a totally different and completely different set of circumstances for an individual. The student needs to go to class, and Dr. Emmert says, hey, that's the key, right? Number one, the key is you cannot get back onto the field before kids are in school. You can't do that. So that's number one. Of course, UH has announced that kids will return to campus, which is great. But what's happening in Hawaii, which we're doing a great job of, which we should be proud of as our state, is keeping the next amount of cases up. So I think we had a few days of 0 cases reported. I didn't see what happened today in Hawaii, but the fact is everybody's basically inside. So once people start going back outside, the cases are going to go back up, and the testing is going to go back up. So therefore, the positives are going to go back up. So that's what we have to look forward to. And once we get through that next, whatever that'll take, that next wave, then we'll be able to talk about the season. So we have a lot of circumstances that are really out of our hands, especially for the fans. But I wanted to really emphasize that it's important when we're talking about what's going to happen with the season to listen to the people. I mean, there's only a few people that I will take any kind of even more than a grain of salt, because there are people that clearly have motives. I mean, I would love to be able to say all my tours are on, and we're going to go out and we're going to go a bunch of games, and we're going to make it happen this year. I would love to be able to say that. I would love to be able to make that promise to you, but that's impossible for me to make, even though those are things that I've been thinking about, like this Oregon trip, for a long time. So in the meantime, I think it's important that we continue, like we said, to engage ourselves as a fan base, but also to be akamai, right? Be smart about how we're going to proceed as a community, as a fan base, when it comes to football. Because, like Dr. Emmert said, everybody has to start at the same time. That's just the way it is. You cannot have one school start here, one school start here. And let's face it, the places, just because a city or state is more open than another state, has nothing to do or very little to do with what's actually happening in their town. It's more politicians trying to get things open, trying to get people back out for many reasons. Many of them themselves will not go back out because they'll know they'll get sick. I mean, at this time, if you go out to a restaurant, not sure why, if you're doing that right now, because the next cases are coming. This is not, it's not like we're special in the U.S. where things don't happen to us, because in other countries where they're done a much better job than we have in fighting this, they're still dealing with it. Even when they've tried to open up, slowly by slowly, they've had to go back in lockdown. So that's just the reality. And I would love to be able to say, this is amazing, we're going to be able to play, but we all have to be a little bit more, just logical and rational. But sometimes we can be irrational, right? I'm an irrational football fan. Sometimes I go crazy. I go nuts. I just want to go to a game. I just want to see our team play. But at this time, I think it's important for us, too, to understand what's in front of us. Timmy, thanks for joining us again. Of course, Herbert! Timmy says, I realistically don't see us starting on time. Just like the article you shared, I've read similar articles from ADs across the country that have said the same. And that'll be a late start. And I think I agree. Better than nothing, though. That's true. I really think we're going to play this year. I would hope. I mean, I think that's where we got to be. We need to have football. We need the revenue. Particularly our school is going to be hurt not playing that Oregon game, not getting that payday, because we rely a lot on those paydays. This is why we play those teams. I would love to say we play those teams because we want to beef up our schedule and make sure we're in a big bowl game next year or in the national championship or something. But we play those games for the money. I mean, that's why we went to Michigan. That's why I had to endure us losing 63-3 at the Big House, losing 49-10 in Florida, losing 42-28 in Michigan State. I got to witness all these great body bag games, as they call them, and the best part about them is the money that we get, and that is something that is potentially fleeting this year, and something that we desperately need, not just for our football team, but for the rest of our program as well. But like we said, Mark Emmert also, optimistic about people working together, people being able to come together, commissioners being able to hopefully work together. And that's another thing as well. Dr. Emmert, the president of the NCAA, for those that just think the NCAA is like this separate, like nebulous monster, it's not. It's a collection of individuals. Most of them, it's member run. So every school, conferences, they put people on committees. Obviously, there are NCAA employees who are full-time employees like Dr. Emmert, but he used to be the president of UW. It's all the same people. It's not like it's just a giant monster who is. And I agree. I have big issues with the NCAA. I have major issues with the NCAA. And this is, I was proud to be on a committee. I was proud to be in that building. And I think there's a lot of good work going on there. And there's a lot of great work particularly for athletes of color, whom I directly worked with, whom I directly created programming to help or to support. But at the end of the day, the power brokers who are in that building, the power brokers who are on the campuses, are a collection of men who make a lot of money and will make decisions based, of course, on the best of all the schools combined, the best practices that they can come together and agree upon, but also realize that even within the NCAA, even within the conference structure, as some of you may or may not know, right? We have a Power 5 conferences. So we have the SEC, we have the Big 12, we have the Pac-12, we have the ACC. What did I say? SEC, Pac-12, ACC, Big 12. What am I missing, guys? Off the top of my head. But the Big 5 conferences have always been agitating for some sort of autonomy from the NCAA. They've just been that way for a long time. They've been looking for ways that they can make their own rules. A lot of it has to do ostensibly with paying their players, which I think is a great thing as well. I'm not opposed to players being paid, especially players that have to are giving most of their bodies to Division I schools and will not be able to retain a lot of that afterward, even if they don't even make it to pros. You look at somebody like Brandon Doman at BYU or something, or Luke Staley at BYU, and the kind of just the endurance that he or the endurance that he had to try and hold as a college player, because he was taking a bunch of snaps and taking a bunch of hits before he even got to be paid for it. And that's wrong. These athletes are definitely worthy of being paid. But with that being said, we at UH cannot afford to pay our players. There's no way we can. So this is not that discussion. But the discussion is how, as we go forward, how have we gotten closer to the football season? So if we listen to what the SEC commissioner is going to say, of course they want to play. Of course all the Power 5 people are going to be optimistic. Of course they are. Especially when they're in states that are deciding to open up, which those are political reasons for people. This is going to be real right now. There's political reasons for people opening up. There's nothing to do with, we don't even have enough testing to see how many people are sick. So people are still sick. And it could be you. You might be asymptomatic. It doesn't help us to make the football season get any closer when people keep allowing this virus to be transmitted to other people, which is going to happen because we don't have a vaccine, first of all. But the fact is, we're a little bit off. We're a long while off. Kaveh, well, let's say aloha to our friend Kaveh. He said almost 80,000 have died in the U.S. Yeah, I mean, oh, yeah. Sports is a long way off with people in the stands. I mean, it is. We have almost 1.24 million cases, known cases. So who knows how many people have it. And that's easy for us. Let's just reference the UFC 249. There was 10 fighters in that event, and one of them tested positive. I mean, that's already shows. I mean, just the sheer numbers. Even when we try and have as few as people as we can in one place, you're still gonna have it. And when we start to balloon it, when it starts to amplify it out to, on order of thousands of people, it's automatic transmission. It's like, it's easy for us to point to a singular source. We go back to Seattle and their story, and this is not to pick on Seattle because nobody knew much about the virus, but even when Seattle had their breakout and still had a big game, and of course I love the MLS. I don't like the Sounders, sorry. No, love you. I love the Sounder fans, but I'm an LAFC guy, so I'm not a Sounder fan. But the Sounders had a game in which it's known on the day when they were already breaking down, they had thousands of people in CenturyLink. So it's probably put your money on somebody having gotten sick in that stadium, considering there already had been cases, I believe, from the Seattle Dragon or whatever their XFL name was. There were already cases that were linked back then. Of course, we didn't know much about it back then. So, of course, Timmy said, "Go Sounders!" I gotta pick on the Sounders because they beat us last year in the playoffs, and that was a very disappointing game. This one of the games that's almost like Sugar Bowl level game where I just erased it from my memory. I don't even want to know what happened. All I know is we lost. It was painful. But that's all I have now are these memories, are memories of games. I don't know when we're ever going to get back, guys. I don't know when we're ever going to get back. But the truth is, what we can do right now is be supportive, of course, of whatever policies are being put in place wherein we can mitigate the spread of the virus, because that's all we can do right now is slow the spread. Of course, there are people who believe that just everybody go outside and the people that get sick will die, and then the other people will at least have immunity, and those are all theoretically possible things, I guess, but not factual and not something that a course of action wherein we plan on going anywhere. So in the meantime, I would love to hear if everybody has any comments or questions or wants to talk about anything else. We don't have to just talk about, the NCAA and what's going on over there. I want everybody to also, get a chance to bring up some of the issues or some of the latest news that we talked about. I know out in Warrior Nation, there's a lot of talk about, looking at the past and some of the great moments that we have. And that's, I think, a really powerful thing to do for our fan base. I think there's a lot of great moments for us to go back, and I would encourage everybody to go back, watch those games. And shout out Hawaii News Now and what they're doing, playing old games, being able to have people just take a little taste of what it was. If you weren't in Aloha Stadium in the 80s, if you didn't experience that electricity, I don't remember that well. I was really small, when even in '89 in the game, when I would probably say that's about the time when I really became a UH football fan. I was still small, going with my grandparents, but I mean that was a different vibe in the stadium. Clearly, a lot more people, and that's still going to be an issue whether we get back in the stadium in August, September, January, or next year. We're going to need to focus on how we can continue to grow this fan base, and that is going to start right now. And what we can do right now is continue to, and I see everybody out there sharing posts and talking about all the great moments they had and tailgate pictures. I'm going to shout out Tom, who shared some photos from the New Mexico game last year. That was a fun game for those of us who went to Albuquerque. And those are things that I think about. Of course, being able to go to Portland or going to Eugene this year would have been amazing. We obviously would be back in California doing our San Jose, doing our Fresno stops, which would have been great to be able to check in with all of our family and friends there. And I really believe that if we do start this in the spring, we can still run the whole season. So I'm hoping that when they do make a decision, it'll be swift, it'll be uniform, and it'll help us to plan, because that's the biggest part for most of us, right? We can't plan, and that makes things really difficult for guys like me who are always thinking about the next tour and the next trip. Kave, every game Wayne. I'm gonna have to put that on there since Kave gave me that nickname, every game Wayne. I love it. Timmy says, here in Seattle, it's been rough, to say the least, especially the first few weeks of March when the policy went in place. Sad to see all the businesses that have been affected and are closed. Pyramid Brewing, yes, I saw actually Timmy shared that. Pyramid Brewery, 30-year landmark in Seattle. And Pyramid Brewery, my favorite Pyramid Brewery story was LAFC's first game. This is our coach, Bob Bradley. Might recognize him. This is my bobblehead. Maybe I should just do a live stream where I play with my bobbleheads. I just like play with my bobbleheads. But I was so excited when I got this bobblehead. It was July 2 years ago. But our first game at LAFC, we played Sounders. It was like March 3rd, 2018. And we went to Pyramid first. And our owner, one of our owners, is Will Ferrell, the stepbrother. So everybody's making all kinds of course, Will Ferrell jokes. And he's the best. He's so funny and he's so nice in person, and he's exactly the same. Like, he's just Will Ferrell all the time. And it's amazing to be able to have somebody like that be the owner and just love to be with the fans. And we walked from Pyramid Brewing over to CenturyLink and watched LAFC win their first game ever, beating the Sounders. But that being able to go to Seattle first was a real treat for someone like me who's had been to only one MLS game before, and Seattle is one of the best places to see MLS. I mean, it's in CenturyLink Field. It's the same field that the Seahawks play in, and sometimes they sell it out too. So, and they're doing that in Atlanta. You want to talk about soccer? Atlanta, that team, FC Atlanta, selling out their stadium, their Mercedes-Benz Stadium is incredible. Multiple times during the year they sell it out. When we were there for the Super Bowl 2 years ago, or last year, Super Bowl 53. Not a particularly game I love to remember. Of course, that 10-3 Rams-Patriots Super Bowl. All I saw was FC Atlanta everywhere. Like, literally, that soccer team is huge, and their fan base is massive. It's super diverse, and that's what I love about soccer too. I mean, soccer, MLS particularly, is a new thing. It's where we're heading. I mean, if you're a sports fan, I highly recommend it. Even if you're like, soccer, I don't watch soccer. You're saying that now. We all said that. But MLS is awesome. I love this team, LAFC. I love this team. It's so fun to follow them. I absolutely love this team, and I love our stadium. Everything about our organization, from the planning, from our fan group called the 3252, my friends being in charge of it, and just great guys who really are in charge of thousands of people, and being able to do that independently from the team, that keep that fan base together. This is something similar that I would love to do with our fan bases, and it's what I'm doing right now. This is what I'm doing, really, is finding a way that we can keep that same spirit together. And that's the problem right now with a lot of us who are going to games all the time. I mean, I go to games at least twice a week, pro games, one or twice throughout the year. So between whatever NFL season, NBA, soccer, MLS, Dodgers, Angels, which I go to a bunch of games for both teams every year. It's kind of weird not being able to go to a game, I'm going to be honest. But at the end of the day, it makes us reappreciate what it is to be a sports fan and to continue to... what's up, Luis? That's one of my LAFC bros right there. I can talk about LAFC all day. I could do an LAFC live stream. That's how much I love this team. I love LAFC. But yeah, thanks, Timmy. I mean, that's the sad part. I mean, the Pyramid, it's one of those rocks. It's one of those long time establishments that's gone. And I spent a heavy chunk of yesterday really depressed that Sioux Plantation is gone as well. And Cave just reopening that wound. That's our place, bro. I used to go the Torrance one too. I used to hit up that place all the time. So shout out the Torrance, my Torrance bros, and everybody down there, Carson, Redondo. That's where I hit up my Sioux Plantation, or when I'm in Orange County, my grandma down there, or all my peeps down there. It's one of those places I go to before games. I go there with family, so I'm totally sad about that. I thought I would never be this depressed about a food chain going away, but Sioux Plantation was one of those places that, for sure, was always a good time every single time. Good food too, and really cheap and just fun. So, yeah, that's sad, but that's what's going to happen with this. The virus is going to change life for us. That's when they say things like the new normal. What does that mean? What does the new normal mean? It means we don't go back to what it was before. Not right now. Not right now. I mean, there are people that think that we're going, like, I have no clue. So people need to just stay cool, and it's hard. I do not like being indoors very long, and I've been indoors for 56 days straight. I mean, I've walked around, but literally I've been doing this show for over a month now, and we're in the same position. I mean, we haven't, even as society, I mean, in Los Angeles, we've gotten a lot better and we're flattening it out a lot. But once things start to phase in again, in California, the numbers will start to rise again. I mean, that's just normal. So that's everywhere. I mean, the places that are like opening everything, like people going back to, like, you're asking to get sick. It's just the way it is. Like, the virus didn't just go boop and just like disappear. Like, that's not how it works, people. So we have to be really smart, and I'm reaching out to all of you. Be smart, be safe. Don't be somebody that tries to jump the gun. Timmy, see, this is my man Timmy. Keeps it going. Cave, he says that was the pre-funk spot for Hawks, Mariners, and Sounders games. Yeah. Seattle. I know. It's too bad, though. That's a great city. I love Seattle. It's one of my favorite cities in America. It's one of my favorite sports cities for sure. We did 2 NFC championships there. So I'm going to keep dropping. Hawaii sports fans, we're going to keep going. Whether or not I'm working or not, I'd love to keep this going, keep our excitement going of all the places that we visit, because that's exactly what the goal is with Hawaii sports fans, is to continue to build that pride and continue to build that spirit and the passion. I mean, my passion really overflows. It goes through me. It goes through everything that I do. It really motivates me to do everything that I do. It motivated me to go to 60 straight Hawaii football games, which I guess I'll go for 100 next. One day I just said, I guess I do this all the time, and it's amazing because it's exactly what I want to do. So I, for one, would have a really hard time if there was a game and I wasn't allowed to go in. I would get it. There's no way I'm sitting outside if my team is playing in a stadium. So I think that's another reason I just not about not having fans. It's not something that I think is a course of action for any sporting event. But particularly the bigger ones like football, like NFL, they do want fans. And I know that they're going to do whatever it takes to be able to get fans in. I saw some parts where I think the NFL says if certain parts of the country can start earlier. And I hate that, because just because some parts of the country are starting first doesn't mean they're ready. It just means that whoever's in charge of their local municipalities, government, state government, decided, okay, you guys can go back. So as most of those decisions are not, due to science or anything. People want to bag on the Oregon governor. It is what it is. She's being honest. It's better than us waiting along, being strung along, and then being told what is inevitable, because it's simply not in the cards. If it's not in the cards for pro sports, for NBA, how is it going to be in the cards for a live event with fans in September anywhere, not just in Oregon? So I actually appreciate her saying something. I mean, I'm totally disappointed that I cannot go to the Oregon game. I mean, I've been thinking about the game for so long, and it's everything, obviously. Everything that I do with Hawaii sports fans is about what I want to do. Is it's me sharing exactly the passion that I have and exactly the things that I want to do, which is go to games and eat good food and then go to games and then do that as many days in a row and then fly back home because that's so fun. And I would totally do that for the rest of my life if I could, every game. And I think a lot of you feel the same way. So I don't want to come across like, a downer, but we need to also be logical and real. And it's starting to get to the point where it's like, of course there's going to be mixed messages, especially if there's people, you're going to hear anybody from the SEC. Of course, the SEC would start football tomorrow. Like, they don't care. Obviously, it's the SEC. The SEC is not the Mountain West. The Mountain West, the AAC, the Sun Belt, and then all the FCS schools underneath. I mean, we're in trouble if we don't have football season. I mean, we're in big trouble if we miss out on a payday like that. Those paydays help to balance our books for the whole year, just those one games, like playing Michigan. Getting $1 million payday goes a long way for us to be able to cover operating costs, particularly when we have a problem getting fans in the stands, which is an issue that I would prefer for people to work on because, of course, I want to have the season come back, but I also want people to be there. I'm going to be there, and all my friends are going to be there, and my family, and we're going to have fun, but our team deserves to have more people in the stands anyways. So even if we have season come back, we need to work on getting people into the stands. Timmy says Eugene is a fun town too. It is, and I haven't been to Eugene in a long time, probably 20 years. But it's so beautiful. And Oregon, the Pacific Northwest is super beautiful. It's my favorite. Portland, Portland might be my favorite. I mean, Portland and Seattle, I love Portland. I love Portland so much. It's so fun. And I love going to Timbers games too. The Timbers right in Portland. That culture of sports in the Pacific Northwest has been there for a long time. A lot of people think, they don't have like, a major team in Portland or something, or in the area. Seattle, they don't have the Sonics anymore, but they should. I mean, they should never have lost a basketball team. It's a city that definitely supports their teams. I mean, the Seahawks have one of the most active fan bases, who never let their seats devalue, which I definitely will give them props for because that's really important. That shows true fandom, I think. And those are the things that we miss as fans. We miss being able to talk about going to the games. We miss being able to make those plans. So that's the thing that hurts us the most. That's the part that I know most of us are very anxiety ridden by, and it's downright depressing sometimes to think about the fact that we might not be able to be in the stadium this year. But we also, need to be a little bit smarter with that. All right, so Shane brings up a good point. He says, curious to see how Graham is going to incorporate the tight end transfer from Texas Tech. So that's a good point. So Shane is talking about the tight end transfer from Texas Tech. That's cool. Tight end is back. The tight end is back at Hawai'i, or however he lines up. I mean, tight ends will line up as H-back, would be blocking. I love having that extra guy on the line as well, but we didn't even get a spring, and that's a huge disadvantage for us. A huge disadvantage for us not to have a spring, and that cannot be understated. And the NCAA has to keep that in mind too. All the schools that weren't able to have a spring, and then we can't just get back and try and have a fall and then try and get playing. It's not fair. It's not fair at all to any of us, to the fans, to the coaches, to the team, because it's particularly one of those things that. How do you institute a playbook? And I'm sure Coach Graham is doing his best online, but it has to be super frustrating for him not to be able to say exactly what he wants to say to his players and be able to demonstrate plays and the book and his philosophy in live action. So that's a big issue. Timmy said, "Don't bring up the Sonics." Sorry, bro. I mean, Sean Kemp. I was thinking about Sean Kemp today because I saw somebody say, "Who is your top 10 favorite player?" That was one going around, the top 10 favorite players of your lifetime. So Sean Kemp is definitely in mine. It's got to be in yours too. And I know Shane has got to be in Shane's because Shane is a Kalani High School Falcon, and Sean Kemp used to destroy those rims at Kalani at the big man camp, at Pete Neal's big man camp. My dad used to take me in the 90s. And we would watch Sean Kemp, and I used to love seeing him climb I remember Kenyon Martin was there. I think Shaq came down. They used to have the big man camp at Kalani. They had it at Kamehameha once. I remember seeing Sean Bradley, and I was like lifting, and I was like, whoa, Sean Bradley like walked in. I don't even know how he can, like, the machines are made for people that are like, the tallest 6'4", so I don't know how a 7'6" guy was even able to get on the machine. But that was incredible to see those guys up front. Okay, Shane brought up a question. What's your favorite pregame atmosphere? Home. Ours. I'll be honest. Ours is. It's my favorite because we're the best. We have the best food. We have the best sunshine. We have so much in our at home that it just makes me appreciate it more when I go to other places. Of course, I love going to, it's fun walking around Madison before a game. It's fun walking around even Provo, whatever stadiums. I went to University of Houston game, went to University of Rice game. In Houston, in Texas is way different. It's a different animal of football too, but all the pregame, it's different everywhere, and that's so cool. Every place is different. I mean, Air Force, that if you go there for a game in Colorado Springs, they always have free beer before the game. So that's a hack, a life hack. If you want to get free beer, go to whenever Air Force has a home game, because they have so many like beer sponsors. Obviously, they're in Colorado, and you can get free beer before the game. So it's kind of cool. But Air Force also has a little, as like a lot of schools, they have a little family thing before the game. And at Air Force, you can like climb into like the fighter jets, which is kind of cool. So I always do that, like line up with like 5-year-olds and get in. But on the other hand, last year, 2 years ago, we were at Colorado State, and if Fuchsia's watching, she'll remember this. I thought like the Humvees were also like, the Humvees that they had at Colorado State were similar to, the fighter jets they had parked outside Air Force, wherein, why would you use them right now? But apparently in Fort Collins, the Humvee is a part of standard police operations, so I definitely opened the door, tried to get in, and had a gun pointed in my face, but that happens. So watch out when you go to a pregame. What parts are there for exhibition? What parts are like a museum? What parts are actually full-time police officers in full gear holding rifles? But also strange to, have a military-grade Humvee in the middle of Fort Collins. But, okay, weird. The Rain Man. Free beer, sign me up. Yeah, Shane, you got to go. So, Air Force, we were supposed to play out this year, too, which is crazy, right? So, 2012, I took a group to Air Force. So, we go every 4 years to Air Force, or to the mountain schools, right? We go every 4 years. We rotate through them. So, we used to do Air Force, and then we have Colorado State, Wyoming, and then we don't, and then it's like Boise. So, we had Boise this year. We had Boise and New Mexico this year. Where else did we play on the mountainside? So we don't go there as often to Air Force, being that we're on the west side of the Mountain West. But it's a pretty fun place. I mean, all of the Mountain West schools are fun. I mean, if you saw some of those pictures from New Mexico. New Mexico Stadium is kind of fun. It's small. It's not, but it's pretty intimate. And they have like, they had like local ciders that they were selling. It was pretty cool. I mean, that's the one. I would say a lot of things. The best part of a lot of these stadiums too is, even if they're not as big as Aloha Stadium or as grandiose, and that's one thing about our stadium, is has a lot of character. Whether people, I call it that. I mean, people are like, well, it has a lot of hazards too, but it does have character. It's something that, it's a place that so unique architecturally, that it stands out, and I love that about our stadium. But other stadiums, places that don't stand out, places that you look at, you're like, ooh, but they have like great food, or they have loud fans. Or they have, something that is, gonna bring other fans in that other places don't have. Especially when you have the campus or the stadium on campus, you're going to have a different kind of fan base there. You'll probably have way more students. Somewhere like Madison, it's like the students line up in one giant single file line, like thousands of deep single file, and they just like go row by row up until they fill the whole. I mean, it was impressive to watch that happen. But it's so cool, the traditions, And it's so cool that every school has a different story about how they were started, or what brought them to Division One, and even like the foundation of our own program at UH. Like a lot of people would be shocked to see that we played, the Army, or we played McKinley High School. It's like our foundation as our program. When we went through a lot of periods, of growth, and then we got to places where we kind of stagnated, and then we took it to the next level. So I think that's where we need to be. That's where the mindset should be, and that's where it should have been, quite frankly, when we were basically at the pinnacle of our program 13 years ago, number 10 in the nation, playing in a BCS game. That should have been the thought, to stay consistent and to stay there. It's disappointing that we weren't able to stay at that level. I mean, Boise is able to do it, and it takes vision. It takes a lot, and that's another issue when it comes to when we talk about scheduling, and the difficulty is we're going to have fulfilling our schedule, is that we just aren't very good at that at UH, just filling a schedule, and we have the same team on our schedule twice in one season. Ole. All right, who else has something to say? Oh, Timmy also said free beer. Drinking in that altitude, Shane, it's terrible. But also the cold. That was the thing. Like, it's freezing. At Air Force, it's always freezing there. But yeah, it's different. It's different for the players, I'm sure. I remember talking to Bo Yap after the 2012 game. I was like, wow, how come you're not wearing, like, he wasn't wearing like the sleeves. He's like, oh, the coach said don't wear those if you. No, you don't need. I was like, God, these guys are crazy. It was freezing. It was freezing in Colorado. It was one of the coldest games probably, a 2012 Air Force game. Fuchsia and I and my friend Eddie went to Wyoming, and that was a pretty cold game. But that was like all low 30s. But Colorado Springs, especially up there, the altitude, cold, it's like in the 20s. It's hard. Kaveh asks, what do you think this delay will do to UH athletics financially? And I think it's going to take a huge hit. UH is going to take a massive hit, and they're going to need to. What's scaring me is I don't hear much coming out of the department. I see, little bits here on social media, and of course, there's not much that they can say right now. I mean, excuse me, in the scheme of things in the NCAA, our department doesn't have as much weight or carry as much prominence as the bigger program. So, we're going to wait and see ourselves anyways. But the idea that the NCAA is going to piecemeal state to state and then just play games here and then play games here and no fans here, like, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. It's just, I wish people would be more real about that kind of stuff, because it's frustrating for someone like me who, obviously, that's all I think about is going to games. And then I like run into these roadblocks because all of this false optimism that we've had, leading up, are just full of empty promises. And I don't think we, as fans, we can't, our stadium cannot, or our program cannot be sustained upon false promises, and also upon the possibility. Well, it's a lot of P's. I should have had my pop filter or something. I didn't mean to use so many P's. The possibility of having a season it's very slim, but the money, like Kaveh's saying, is what we need. So we need to have the season. Like, we just need to have the season. I can't imagine going a whole year. Like, there won't be. I can't imagine no football season and then starting and then like getting into basketball season. Like, all that money, all that revenue directly goes to helping those sports, and maybe a sport like men's volleyball, which I think is apparently the only other self-sustaining sport. Maybe we could do that, but there would definitely be an effect on other sports. And that's to be honest, it's not only football. Women's volleyball is a fall sport as well. It's one of the first sports to start. So there's a lot of difficulty there. But the possibility of seeing, even if students are on campus, students, it's not going to happen. Like, obviously, sports will not happen if students are not on campus. And there's already campuses that are talking about going online. So I don't see any of those campuses bringing their students back or bringing their athletes back to playing games. Like, that's not a thing. That's just not a thing at the NCAA. They won't They won't let that happen. So everybody's got to be on campus. That's the whole thing. It's about equity amongst the student athletes and the rest of the student population. And the reason that they have to be very vocal about the perception of equity, because sometimes it's not equitable, but and that's because student athletes are, for a lot of universities, they are the fundraisers. They're the ones making money for their team, and they're taking upon themselves all the practice, all the training. It takes a lot of time from your major. I mean, I played at a small school in New York, and I already double majored, and it was like triple majoring, having playing a sport, because you have practice, you're in the training room. I was always in the training room. You're in trainers for like an hours. You're on the court. Then you're in the weight room. Then we have like a sports psychologist. Then you go to class, and then you work. It's a lot of hassle on a student. It's a lot of, it is a job, and they're not being compensated for it, most of them. So, and if you want to call it compensated to get free tuition, yeah, it's nice. But at the end of the day, they are not employees. So therefore, they cannot be told to go and play a game when the rest of their students, the rest of their classmates are at home or, whatever, doing distance learning. Like, everybody needs to be on campus. Things need to be almost normal for things to get back together. I mean, is there a possibility of no fans? I would say maybe. The possibility, I would, so I already kind of stated this. My biggest hope is start in January, play a full season. Nothing changes. We just shift the calendar. Of course, it's easier said than done, but we have so many hurdles that we need to pass from now until whatever, August 1st or whenever, because, I mean, training camp, I think last year started around August 1st. There will be so many in 2.5 months. The amount of hurdles to cross is almost insurmountable to be able to put everybody on the same page, meaning, there are 130-ish Division I FBS schools, another, however, FCS schools. In Division I, there are about 300 and whatever, 75. Honestly, people switch through divisions. People come up from the NAIA. The number changes every year. But some schools, their models are not built upon football. So maybe they can survive a little bit better. But most schools, they need the football to provide the revenue. And, there are schools that just pay for their sports. I mean, it's just a part of just like having arts, just like having a great science building. They want to have strong athletics, so they'll pay for the athletics. But there are schools that need to have TV money, need to have the gate revenue. They need those things. Like, it's not an option not to get that money and still be able to operate. So I think what's surprising me is that the school hasn't made any statements regarding how they're doing any cost-cutting measures right now, wherein other programs are ahead of the ballpark when it comes to how they can save money right now, because that's absolutely necessary. So, yeah, Kaveh bringing up that point, how will delay UH athletics financially? Yeah. Wayne, who is your all-time Kaveh's favorite all-time UH quarterback, receiver, and running back? I don't know if I have an all-time who I would think the best, but like my favorites, I have favorites probably. I don't know. I mean, I loved watching Timmy Chang play, and he's close to my age, and he also is one of the guys whose names, believe it or not, a lot of people think about Cole Brennan, but he's one of those names, Timmy Chang, that's a lot of people in the mainland still know and still talk about, still ask about, and still ask me about when they say that I'm from UH, and like, oh, you had that quarterback, and I'm like, oh yeah, Cole Brennan. Oh no, he was Asian. And I was like, oh, Timmy Chang. And it's pretty cool. I think it's nice. Like, this Timmy Chang is the guy, St. Louis before Marcus and before Tua, and it just shows you how strong that St. Louis pipeline has been for so long. And I was at Timmy Chang's first ever game. I was at Colt Brennan's first game too in 2005. That was at Michigan State. So that was hilarious. But Timmy Chang's first game was at UTEP. That was my first his first start. That was my first road game with my parents, 2000. So he was up there. Receiver, I don't know. There's so many. I have so many favorites. I think when I think about receivers, I mean, it's hard to not think about Ashley Lindley just because he, that was also a point where, remembering Ashley Lee make that catch when we were 9-3 that year where we didn't go to a bowl game to beat Fresno. It was on television, and those are kind of big memories. And it's funny, running back. Oh gosh, I have so many people. But Avion Weaver, I was volunteering for. I volunteered with my friend Brad for the Oahu Bowl in 1999. Our first when we went from worst to first. June Jones' first season, we played in the Oahu Bowl. We played Dennis Erickson's Oregon State Beavers, and we won. But I remember talking to Avion Weaver before the game, just because I was like, I'm just going to be like this high school kid and walk up to him. And I was just like, we need you today, guy. And I was thinking, well, we actually passed a lot. But Avion Weaver ended up being the MVP of that game. How crazy is that? So that was a kind of a favorite moment for me because I just wanted to go up and motivate him. Maybe I did. I don't know. I don't remember him having that. I mean, he was a great player and had a great season, but he definitely bowled out that game. And Shane says, Colt, Greg Salas, and Gary Allen. Oh, very good choices. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And Nolan says, Wayne, you and Cave and we all should have a big tailgate gathering and watch all the football at Stadium. It would be so awesome. Yes, I totally agree. I love that idea, Nolan. And, I mean, if we do have... God, the prospect, it's almost easier for me to deal with football just being canceled this year or pushed than having football in the fall and not being able to go inside. Like, that would kill me not to go inside a game. Like, that's like my nightmare is being outside. Like, I have nightmares that the game has started and I'm standing outside and watching into the stadium. So, it would be hard for me to be kept out of a stadium. I'm telling you that. There's no way that I could stay outside a stadium. But if we did have to do that, I would absolutely love that, and I think that would be a great plan. Anyways, coming up this fall, whether we have football, whether we don't, to be able to gather, to be able to get our fan base in check and continue to build our relationships. People like myself and Fuchsia and Kili, I talk about them, of course, those two of my buddies who we go on all the road games with. We are just trying to keep people together and keep our spirit, our aloha spirit that we have and our love that we have for each other, because that's what's important. When we think about, Fuchsia and I, we talk about people like, Ben Scruton, who was on our team last year, who graduated. His mom, Michelle, she was just such a great addition to our fan base, and everybody loved her, and she had such a good spirit. So those are the kind of people. She didn't die. I'm getting emotional, but she moved back to Australia. So I don't think we're going to be able to see her for a long time, unless we go to Australia and see her. But those are the kind of relationships that we develop, that we have with our fan base. So for sure, Nolan, I totally agree with that. I think we definitely need to, really consider how we can do more activities together, whether we or not we have football. But now we're heading up to the hour. I just thank you guys all for listening to me. I think tonight I wanted to try a different format for our Sunday Sound Off, just kind of react and respond to what's going on in the comments. If you have anything else, just let me know. We'll talk a little bit about it. But I want to just keep giving shout out to everybody who's just watching. Thank you so much for being here. All of the live streams will be immediately available on demand as soon as they end. So you can start from the beginning if you forgot anything, or if you want to see me making funny faces into the mic or to the camera, waiting for people to come on, I'm sure that'll be there as well. But also, just a reminder, every Wednesday I've been doing the Around the Wayne, which has been really fun. It's like Around the Horn, as they do on ESPN. But I have 4 hardcore fans come in, and I get to ask them questions and give them topics. So this past week we talked about, new traditions that we'd like to see. We talked about the throwback uniforms and how often we want to bring them back, and I think that's really important. So definitely tune in. If you want to be on the panel as well, send us a private message at HI Sports Fans, at Hawaii Sports Fans. Make sure you like us. Make sure you have your friends like us as well. But send us a message so I can continue to do this totally free, totally out of the kindness of my wonderful Hawaii Rainbow Warrior heart. But I just love being able to connect with all of you, just like how we do at home. As we continue to fight through whatever comes our way, we need to stay together as a fan base, but we also need to do it the smart way and be fans that are rational and logical, and not the ones who are just like, nah, I'm just gonna go anyways. Like, no, that's not a Pono way to act. So it's really important, I think, for all of us to be able to understand, where we are right now, because it'll help us plan for the future, which is my biggest issue. We need to plan. UH needs to plan financially what's going to happen. I mean, to have all your eggs in a basket in the Oregon game and already know that it's canceled, that's big. Or if we want to play without fans, the gate is going to go towards that payout. So I don't know contractually where that is, but of course Oregon can afford the payout. I mean, I don't have any sympathy for Oregon. Like, they can pay out as much money as they want. They basically are Nike. But that is a paycheck that we need. Fred says, if 2020 happens, will you be in Fresno? Yep, of course. I'm at every game. So we play Fresno State. That'll be amazing. But I don't know if we're ever going to make it to Fresno this year. I would hope so. Nolan says, do you feel super excited this new coaching staff? Yeah, I am. I'm actually really excited. I think they have a lot of ideas. I think they're going to continue what we're doing, what we're strong at, which is our passing attack, and leveraging the talents of the recruits that Coach Rolovich brought in. And it seems like they're very active. They seem to be very active on Twitter. They seem to be very, the staff that is, very active in states that we weren't active in, as active in before, like Texas. We've had Texas people before. We've had Blinn College people. Blinn College, shout out to Blinn College. Blinn, we went to Brenham actually on a Hawaii football tour. If you saw our Friday Night Lights, we went to Brenham, Texas, and watched Brenham High School play, and went to the Bluebell Creamery. So if you're from Texas, you gotta know what I'm talking about. But that was fun, and I totally see this coaching staff being successful, but I think there are a lot of challenges that they have yet to be able to tackle because of the fact that they haven't been able to be present with the team really for very long, and being able to do in-person instruction, and for Coach Graham to be able to continue to learn our culture and understand people. I mean, that's going to require interaction with the community, and those things are not possible right now. So that's another reason why we just need to push this back. Like, it hurts us to rush the season. First of all, it hurts us to rush the season. We didn't even have a spring. And you're going to implement a brand new playbook, everything right there in the few weeks leading up to our week 0 game when we play the first game in the entire country. Come on, you're asking for us to do things that they wouldn't ask other programs to do. So I prefer that we just shift everything over, being able to allow this coaching staff to breathe a little bit, because they're not going to be able to implement what they want to do from now until August 24th. It's not possible. And even if it is, it's not going to be done at a level that we expect our Division I football team to be able to be when they start a season. So it's unfair to us, first of all. And we can't afford to take anything else. We're already paying out subsidies. We're already doing things that are unfair to us already. So we need to keep things equitable. And that's what Dr. Emmert talked about too a lot. Timmy said, not Warrior related, but where could you see Taulia Tagovailoa going now that he's in transfer portal? I see him going wherever his parents are going, first of all. So, I mean, I would suspect that they're going to follow Tua to Miami. So if they do, I anticipate a Florida school, and there are a lot in Florida, and it doesn't need to be Miami. It doesn't need to be University of Florida. I mean, Central Florida is probably not a spot. Central Florida seems to be loaded there right now. But South Florida is there in Tampa, which is not very far, not super far from Miami. I mean, you have Florida International, which is in Boca Raton. You have Florida Atlantic. You have a lot of schools that are right there. So, and, Taulia, I'm sure, wants to play Division I FBS, but I could also see him playing somewhere that's just close to home, at wherever his parents are being home. So wherever that is. But I would love to see him come home. I would love to see him come back to Hawaii, and his parents also come back to Hawaii and be in the stands and be a part of our program. I think it's positive to have player of that a family with that name and that caliber and continuing those traditions. So I mean, I'm really proud about what Tua has done. I'm sure that he's going to have a lot more. He's continue to have different hurdles to cross. Clearly, even with Marcus, we're hoping for his to have a great season with the Raiders, and we're so excited to what he can do there. But Taulia, I would say first of all, wherever his parents are going, and then second of all, I would love to. I could see a possibility coming to UH. Why not? But I don't know what his relationship is like with the program now, and that's the biggest part too. Like, you got to have trust, and his parents, for sure, are gonna want to have a relationship with the coach wherever they go. That's just how they do things, and that's totally fine. I mean, we can't fault Tua's parents. Tua's playing for the Dolphins now, and Tua's jersey is like the highest selling jersey or something right now, and the other highest selling jersey is like Tua's other jersey. It's like crazy, alternate uniform. So I thought I'd read something like that. I can't verify that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tua's jersey was selling. I mean, number one and having a Samoan name on there, I think it's really cool. I think it's great visibility for us. So wherever Taulia goes, we'll probably be somewhere that's maybe close to his brother as well. I just read about Kaveh, but you owe my Detroit Lions an apology, and I do. I totally forgot Detroit when we talked about them in our NFL stream, and we went division by division, and we talked about each division in the NFC, and I totally forgot to bring up the Detroit Lions, and I want to say I'm just going to devote this to Detroit Lions. Of course, Jelani Tavai and everything that's going on there. I expect the Lions. Hey, Kaveh, that was a good. I have to give the Lions pick in the draft. I like that pick. I like on defense what they're doing, and I'm not a huge fan of Coach just because of the Patriots connection, but I definitely see the implementation of his plan and what he's trying to do, and I respect that. But very difficult division, obviously. We'll see what the Packers are going to do. It's just that Jordan Love pick is still so puzzling. We got to see him play. I got to see Jordan Love up close destroy our team. 2017, one of the worst games probably in Rolo's tenure as well. That was in Logan. It's just me and Fuchsia and a few other people. If you were there, shout out to you if you were there at Logan in 2017. This is 2 days before my grandma passed away, actually. So disappointed that was her last UH game when she was alive. But he's a great player as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the Packers do with him. The Bears are coming to the Rams. So if you're a Bears fan, gotta come to SoFi Stadium. We're gonna have great seats there as well. But I when I think about Detroit, what I think about is going to Ford Field. That's what I want to do. My sister was a Packers fan. Got to be there when. I don't want to repeat. So this is probably a painful memory for a Lions fan, but Aaron Rodgers, Hail Mary, in the back of the end zone. What a crazy game! But I like that stadium because it's covered for one thing, and I like the shape of it. So it's a place I visit. I've been to Comerica next door, but still have yet to go to Ford Field. So that'd be fun. So yes, I apologize for not bringing up the Detroit Lions. I bring them up now. But I think that's all we have. In conclusion, I completely, and I'm positive that we'll have a season, in my opinion, because we need this, especially in the NFL. We need to see what we need to have other leagues show us the way before it comes down to Division I or anything. I know the SEC kind of acts like they're a pro league, which they kind of are almost. But the only way that we are going to play is if we all play together. It's not going to be like stagnate, like some teams play and some teams don't, or some teams play in other stadiums. Like, that's not going to happen. Those are not. You read stuff like that. That's like just people saying things out loud, like hoping and writers running with those quotes. But we need to live in a space of reality. That's where I even though my head is in the clouds most of the time, I still want to be grounded in some kind of reality. Oh, Kaveh's still going. Oh, he erased it. I was reading his Kaveh's question about the lines. But that's all I have for today. I thank you for all joining me again. I'm hoping you will see me on Wednesday for another Around the Wayne. And then Thursday we'll have our NFL live stream. If you want to go back and check out our live stream, we had John Ursua on this past week on our Hanging with the Honolulu Seahawkers and Sean Iman, our segment devoted to the Seahawks that we have on the NFL, on my NFL fan stream. So if you want to go back and watch that, John Ursua talking about his, just hanging it out at Marshawn's house, or, picking up the phone and it's Russ, or, talking to Tyler or DK. It's really crazy, and it's so cool to see John and all the success he's having. And we want to see that. We want to keep seeing that this year. We want to keep seeing the NFL take our guys and our guys do well at the next level. John and Jelani and Cole, looking out there for Cole McDonald, of course. Happy Mother's Day to all of you out there, and we'll see you later. Aloha.